Hello and welcome. Go-Man is a highly obscure but worthwhile comic book from the late 80s. It was the lead feature in the independent comic book magazine, Nerve, for the first 3 issues. Then it moved to Caliber for a highly irregular run of 4 issues, before the series concluded in the anthology title Caliber Presents. The writing is very concise and mature, and, in my opinion, had the artwork been of a mainstream quality, I think the series would have done much better than it did. Go-Man was one of the very few comic book series that I can think of that was truly ahead of its time. But it was also a product of its time. Go-Man feels a little inspired by Watchmen, and it also feels like a response to other gritty, allegedly more realistic comic books of the time. I can't say this is true with any certainty, but it's the vibe I get off the content. As for the story, Go-Man is about Lynn Foley, a superhero that fights crime with a fistful of fun. His adventures are founded by the Newhurst Foundation, who supply Go-Man with all the gadgets he uses to combat crime. The Foundation also controls all the mundane business ventures associated with the superhero life. They license the Go-Man name and image for merchandise like toys and comics, and they produce the very popular weekly reality show based on Go-Man's exploits. The story revolves around the rise of a mysterious, violent woman named N. N is, quite simply, very dangerous and lethal. She works in the shadows, slowly gaining a following in the city. It's not until she's blamed for the murder of Go-Man's mentor that she finally gets Go-Man's attention. What follows is a brutal street fight that does not end well for Go-Man. While Go-Man lies in a coma, N and those close to Go-Man start to discover that the Newhurst Foundation might not be as altruistic as it appears. N, realizing that she was manipulated into fighting Go-Man, breaks into the secure hospital where he is being kept and revives him. And that is where the series ends. Now, there is a lot implied within the series, and, unfortunately, it didn't survive long enough to fully expand on the subplots that were being established. For example, it's possible the Newhurst Foundation was actually creating the villains that Go-Man fought for his weekly TV show, or they were somehow complicit in their existence. There was a lot going on with that foundation, with factions and people with conflicting agendas. And what the Foundation was trying to accomplish seemed in conflict with what Go-Man was trying to accomplish. As I said, this is somewhat implied, and it's possible I'm projecting a bit here, since there's not a lot in the series that supports this, other than the tension between Go-Man and those within the Foundation. The characters and supporting cast of Go-Man feel very alive. Go-Man and N get the most attention, since they are the protagonist and the antagonist, but the supporting cast also feel like real people, with realistic motivations, agendas, and an internal life. Of course, I do have to point out that N is a violent version of Ayn Rand. Take the principles of objectivism and project them to a logical extreme, and you would get someone like N. Arrogant, self-assured, and filled with an unwavering belief that their methods are righteous and true. Despite Go-Man being published during a time when comics had a lot of attention, the solo series was likely a victim to a few elements, the most obvious being the artwork. While I think the artwork is suitable, and was no better or worse than most independent comics of the time, it definitely looks amateurish and unpolished. This is a barrier for a lot of readers, so despite the story being amazing, it was passed over. Also, the solo series picked up directly after the 3-issue Nerve story. In other words, not only had readers missed out on the actual beginning of the story, but the star of the series was in a coma and not active at all. While Caliber did publish a trade paperback of the prior Go-Man material just before the solo series started, it was probably not something that was highly ordered. So if somebody wanted the beginning of the story, they probably couldn't find it. Had the solo series began with reprints of the Nerve issues, then carried on, it's possible the series might have survived a bit longer than it did. What I do suggest, for those that are interested, is reading the 3 Nerve issues or the trade paperback put out by Caliber. That story is essentially complete, but more to the point, there's a good story to discover if you can get past the artwork. The 4-issue solo series and the Caliber Presents runs are probably easier to find, but I wouldn't suggest them, mainly because the story doesn't go anywhere. Those issues had no time to provide anything as satisfying as the Nerve story. Yes, the solo series does give one more background on Go-Man, but I'm not sure it's necessary, all things considered. With all that being said, that leaves only one thing left to say. In the words of both Frankie and Go-Man,
Relax, don't do it when you wanna go to it. Relax.
If I could have another moment of your time, I would like to ask that if you enjoyed this or any other Overlord Comics content, that you support this channel by subscribing. This ensures you're notified of additional content as it's made available. Liking, commenting, and sharing is also a very fine way to show your support. Thank you for your time, and I will talk at you in the near future. Until next time.